All right, so I want to start by asking maybe one of the most important questions that you've maybe ever been asked if you're a Christian. And the question is, why did you become a Christian? Think about that for a second. Why did you become a Christian? If we're honest, we probably have a lot of different answers for that question. Right? One of them might be my parents were a Christian, so I'm a Christian. Right? It's just something that I've always done, so it's what I do. I've always showed up to church, so I'm going to keep showing up to church. Maybe that's your reason, if you're honest about it. Maybe the other one would be, man, I've noticed that I was pretty bad, so I want to be a better version of myself. I just want to be good. So I'm going to go to church and do all the right things so that I can be a good person. Maybe the answer is, I want to go to heaven and not hell. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes not to go to the bad place, because I want to go to the good place. Maybe you're in here today saying, maybe that's the question you're asking. You're not asking, why did I become a Christian? You're asking, should I become a Christian? Right? Maybe you're on the fence about this. You're not sure that you actually believe any of it, and you're trying to say, like, what's the point? Is it going to make my life better? Will I actually get out of hell? Will I be able to tilt the scales in my direction if I'm good enough? Should I do it or not? How you answer that question is important, because there are right and wrong answers to that question. The why matters more than the what. The motivation behind what we do matters more than the things that you do. The answer to that question is probably the GPS coordinate for the rest of your life. So the reason by which you become a Christian will guide the rest of your life on how you live and why you do all the things that you do. I went to Marshall University through college, which is in Huntington, West Virginia. And within the first couple of weeks of being there, I met a friend from church, and I was going to meet him for breakfast. And he said, all right, meet me at breakfast at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And so I woke up and I pulled up my GPS and I typed in STAR, so on. And I just clicked the first one that came up. And I got up and I did all the right directions, followed the GPS perfectly, did everything I was supposed to do. And I get there, and I don't see his car there. I'd been around him enough to know what he drove, and didn't see his car there. And I went in and sat down and sat there for about 15 minutes like, man, he's forgotten me. And he sends me a text and says, hey, where you at? I'm like, I'm here. You're not. What are you talking about? I'm sitting here. And what I'd done is I'd clicked the wrong Starbucks. Right? I had drove to Barbersville when I actually needed to be in Huntington. We could tie that here. I drove to Fayetteville when the person I wanted was sitting in Summersville. Right? And maybe you're thinking, well, at least you got some coffee. Right? I don't even like coffee. It's just hot bean water. It's worthless. It's not my thing. I'm not a coffee guy. But the point is I thought I was doing all the right things. I thought I'd taken all the right turn, but I had missed the purpose that I was going toward. I wasn't going to get coffee. I wasn't going to get things. I was going to spend time with somebody. I was going to have a quality relationship with somebody. And the way you answer that question will come down to, did you put in the right or wrong idea of religion? Maybe you started the idea of being a Christian, and actually you don't even know the point of it. You've been confused about being what a Christian actually is, right? And is it just to be a better person? I don't think so. Is it just to get to heaven? I think if that's the way you answered it, I think you might have the wrong coordinates. And I think that if you say to be a better person, you've also missed the mark. Today, we're going to finish up the story of the prodigal son. And we're going to see that there's two sons who had an idea, and they thought it was the right idea. They thought it was what life was all about and the way to true meaning and purpose in life. But they end up, and they're not at the right Starbucks. Right? I know it's a goofy example. They're in the wrong location. They've missed the point, and they end up broken, lost, and separated from the purpose. How nice would it have been when I was driving to the wrong place if it would have just said, hey, wrong way, hey, you're going to the wrong place. That's not really possible. But wouldn't have been nice as on those flashing road signs that it said, Josh is that direction. Like, he's over there. He's not this way. So my goal today is, if we're on one of those two paths, that we're the younger brother and we're trying to find our hope in the things of this world, that would say, stop looking there. Stop going there. Go to what matters. Or we're on the other hand, and if we're honest, there's probably a lot of us that are. If you remember the story of the prodigal son, the context is that Jesus is teaching to two different crowds at the same time. On one hand, he's teaching to sinners. And sinners are the ones who have tried to find their purpose in reckless living. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to do all the stuff, and I'm going to try to make purpose for myself. But then on the other hand, you have the older brother, and he's done all the right things. He's been good. But he's just as separated from the Father at the end of the passage. And so what I want to do is, if we're like that, and if we're honest, that is the religion that Summersville cultivates. Is this very do good, be good, and you can earn your way to heaven. If you do all the right stuff, if you go to church enough, if you're nice enough of a person, you'll get it, you'll make it. But in the pursuit of that, we miss the point of Christianity as a whole. So as we kind of work through this passage, I want to give you 4 road signs that say maybe you've missed it. Maybe you're heading the wrong direction with good intention, but you've missed where you were supposed to be going. And the first road sign is going to be motive. Right? And this is more of an umbrella that the rest of the points fall under. That's the why. Why are you a Christian? The first bad motive is selfishness. If you answered that question and it started with the word I, maybe you've missed the point. Look at the older brother in this situation, right? His younger brother has come home to be celebrated and has been celebrated because he was lost and now found. And what he says is, why didn't I get that? I've been so good. And what was his motivation? Really, he wanted the same exact thing that the younger brother wanted, which is the father's stuff, but not the father. Right? He wanted the big house. He wanted all the nice farmland. He wanted all the servants. But he didn't give a rip about the father himself. So his motivation for doing all the good things that he did was the same motivation that the younger brother had for doing all the bad things that he did. Right? If you were to cut through them, they're no different. Man, but we're so tempted to kind of polarize the entire world and hate each other, even though at the heart we're the exact same. Right? We as human beings kind of try to find our meaning and purpose on our own through 2 ways. We talked about this last week. One is going to be self-discovery. That I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be told how I should live. I'm going to go out and figure it out myself. I will be the one who defines what my life is about. So I'm going to go do that. And then on the other hand, you have the moral conformity person that says life is actually about doing really good things. If you do good things, you'll get good things. But at the heart is they want what they want. And if we're honest, selfishness is really the cancer of life. It's what destroys all relationships. In fact, it's what unraveled the entire world. Let's go back to Genesis 3 for a moment. It won't be up on the screen. But what happened in the garden? You guys probably know this story. Is that Adam and Eve were deceived, right? And there was a serpent showed up and said, if you eat this fruit, you will what? Be like God. So what was the original sin? Was it eating the fruit? No, the original sin was selfishness. They wanted to be God. They wanted their own kingdom. They wanted to be the one who was in control of all things. Right? Check your motive right now, Christian. Are you here this morning for selfish reasons? Are you here because you think showing up to church is going to get you what you want? You showed up because you think it's going to make you healthier. Right? Maybe you have cancer or have something going on that's really hard in life, and you think, if I show up to church enough and have enough faith, he'll fix it. Or maybe your marriage is falling apart, and you think, maybe if I show up enough, it'll just fix magically. And so you come in, but actually what you want is just for your life to be better. That's the first road sign that you're on the wrong direction. The second road sign, which, like I said, are really more results of selfishness, but I think what happens sometimes is selfishness is so big that we can almost cover up with other stuff. It's like, oh, actually, I had a good motive because of this. Actually, right, we kind of cover up selfishness with good intention. But there'll be some signs in our life that pop up that make it clear that that's what's going on. So sign number 2 is your selfishness will turn into bitterness and blame. Right? When his brother comes home, his first reaction is to just get bitter. It's to start comparing what he has versus what his brother has. Right? Look at all the good I've done. Look how good I am. Man, it just gets so bitter. This looks in the Christian life like a few things. One is, man, how aggravating, be honest, how aggravating is it when you show up to work and you work really hard and you do all the things you're supposed to do, but the person who's lazy and cuts corners gets the promotion. Right? That's frustrating. So you kind of see where he's coming from, right? Like, this brother's worthless. And he's getting everything, and I'm doing all the right stuff. And this one's another one that maybe hits a little closer to home. Maybe you've been trying to have kids for years and years and years. And it's never worked for whatever reason. And so you not only get mad at the situation, but you get mad at God. And you look at the people who are living sinful lifestyles, and it just seems like they're just having kids left and right. They have, right? I know people that have 15 kids with 15 different women, right? And it's like, it's easy as a Christian to get mad at them. But the person you're mad at isn't them at all. The person you end up mad at is God. God, why don't you love me like that? Why didn't you bless me in that way? So the bitterness actually starts with the person, and it ends up with bitterness toward God himself. That you start to question his goodness because you're not getting what you want. Is anybody in there today? I've been there. I've been there in the last couple years of, like, sometimes you, as a pastor, right, maybe this is a little bit too much, you look around at the churches that are growing and it's easy to get bitter. Because they're not even sharing the gospel. It's just come and it's frills and it's stuff. But the heart of the gospel isn't there, and so you get frustrated and you're almost like, am I doing this wrong? But when I do that, I've started to miss the point. It's not about me and what I get. Then roadside number 3 is you're just constantly critiquing. Right? Instead of celebrating he brothers, he goes through all the lists of why he shouldn't get what he should get. That, well, he went out and he's been running around with prostitutes. Look at me. I go to church every week. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. Why would he get that? Man, this is the sin of gossip. That it's so easy as a Christian to get so puffed up in ourselves that we just look down at everybody else. Be honest. Is your first reaction to criticize or to celebrate? Because mine's to criticize. It's to kind of compare myself with others. Man, I was so guilty of this when I first became a Christian. This just is going to show my sinfulness. When I became a Christian, it was like, I'm doing this right and everybody else is doing this wrong. And there's a temptation in us to do that. But man, I remember I was in high school when I got saved, and the people I kind of picked on was the Young Life crowd. I'm like, they're not real Christians. They're singing Taylor Swift at their stuff. That's not real Christianity. That's weak. Right? They can't quote Romans 9. They don't know the quotes to Luther and Calvin and Jonathan Edwards. They're not as good of a Christian as I am. So we kind of must look down our nose that they're not as good as me. And what that does is critique cultivates pride. The more you critique, the more you place yourself on a platform. The more it's saying that I'm actually what's worth being worshipped here, because look how smart I am. Look how much I have it together. And really, it's all just broken and damaged. Roadside number 4, and this is the one that I want us to hang on for a second, is where he's left is outside the house. Right? I think the way this plays itself out is going to be through church. That oftentimes, whether you're a younger son, an older son, kind of the heart here falls in how you approach the people of God. And so if you're a younger son and when it comes to church, you often say, I'm too sinful to go in there. I can't go through those doors. Everybody's going to look at me like I'm worthless. Everybody's going to look at me like I'm broken. And I really don't want to be treated that way. So I think I'll just stay in the muck. Right? You know that the younger brother had this temptation. It's better to be here with the pigs than it is to be berated with my father. But then on the other hand, it's the same exact thing. Is you can get so religious that church is below you. Right? That I actually am so holy that I can't go in there with those people. Right? They're all sinners. They're all hypocrites. Church isn't for me. I've got it together, and so I can be just as close with God in my tree stand as I can in the church. All you've done is puffed up your own self-righteousness. Right? That he stays outside, and what he's actually done is not just separated himself from the brothers, but also from the Father. Is that God is to be found with his people. To be found in a congregation of things that aren't perfect. Right? If you don't show up to a church because people are broken, you will never show up to a church. Because you won't go to one that everybody isn't damaged. I could point out anybody in here right now, and you could come up with 10 things that you're struggling with right now, if you were honest. And if you can't, you're an older brother. And so he's outside the house. And so what he needs to do is to stop and reset the coordinates. And that's what I want us to do in here this morning. Right? What he should have done is instead of tracking, right, what I should have done whenever I was trying to meet Josh, right, instead of putting down Starbucks, I should have just tracked Josh's location. Right? It'd have been so much easier, and I wouldn't have got lost. Right? The heart of Christianity is not stuff. The heart of Christianity is not heaven. The heart of Christianity isn't even being a better person. It is the person himself is our reward. I'll say it this way. Christianity is about being better. It's about being with God. Christianity isn't about having stuff. It's about having God himself. Christianity isn't even about getting to heaven. It's about getting God. Because he is our greatest prize. Right? And what the most important, this is the way our human brains work, is when we read the prodigal son, our first thought is to ask, what did the younger son do wrong? And we go through the list. Then we say, what did the older son do wrong? And we go through the list. And we initially just say, I don't want to be like that. But what we forget to do is to look at the goodness of the Father. What's going to move you in the prodigal son is not looking at what the people did wrong. It's going to be looking at the heart of the Father who loves them despite their wrongfulness. Right? Look at all the stuff he does here, right? They have completely rejected him, both of them. And he decides to give his life anyway. Right? The son is lost, and the father is out looking for him. And when he sees him from a long way off, he doesn't, like kind of the way we view God, oh, you can't come back. Instead, he runs to the younger son. He embraces him. He kisses him and shows him love. And then, not only that, but the part we miss is he also went out to the older brother. He doesn't just say, well, he cleans himself enough up, he can get in the house. He needs to just clear up his attitude. Instead, he goes out and he pleads with him. Stop. You're missing the point. The point isn't for you to get all my stuff. The point is for you to get me. The point is for you to come into this home and be cared for. Because it's better than anything you could ever earn for yourself. A life of pain, a life of struggle is infinitely better with God than it is a life of ease without him. Don't miss that in here this morning. We need to fix our eyes on the Father. And here's the next part. We need to fix our eyes on the true Son. Is that we have a son here who thinks he's earned it all. We have a son who thinks he's good enough. But there's only one true son who actually earned it all. There's only one true son who is actually good enough, which is Jesus Christ himself. And every part of this story is just screaming to us, look to him, look to him. He, unlike the younger son, did leave the house. He left heaven, not in order to waste his riches, but in order to spend them. In order to spend all that he had in order to bring the brother home. Right? He brings him home. Jesus gives him a robe, gives him a ring, and puts shoes on his feet. I went through this last week. The true older brother, Jesus Christ, is stripped of his robe so that we can receive the true robe of righteousness. Right? Instead of receiving a ring of sonship, he receives a crown of thorns on his head in order to bring us home. Instead of receiving shoes on his feet, he receives nails through his feet so that we can be reconciled to the Father. That's the coordinate, and that's the destination. So here's the beauty of the Christian life, is where you start should be where you finish. It's so easy to kind of lose sight of that. That we are almost told in our culture that you become a Christian and you almost move on from there. We're going to move on to holiness. And so you get saved through Jesus and now you got to do really good stuff to keep it up. Lie. It is Jesus who saves you. It is Jesus who will keep you saved, and it is the gospel that will bring you home. So let me end by giving you two warnings and two challenges for the week. Warning number one is never graduate from the gospel. I just alluded to this a minute ago. Is as Christians, we are so tempted to think that there's something better than the grace and love of the gospel. And so we come to Christ through this belief that Jesus died on the cross to pay for our sins. But then for some reason, it's not enough. We got to do more. We got to keep earning, keep building it up for ourselves. So we move on, right? We either start doing good works or we get really into theology. That's always a big one too. Instead of focusing on the cross, let's just fight everybody about eschatology. Let's get into end times arguments and let's just fight each other tooth and nail, Christian to Christian, saying I'm the better Christian than you because I know more about, whatever. Don't graduate from the gospel. Don't move on to anything else. I've been reading the C.S. Lewis Narnia books lately. And there's a scene in the second book, or I guess the second published book, which is Prince Caspian. And Lucy, which is the youngest Pevensey daughter, she has been seeing Aslan, which is the Jesus figure in the book, kind of walking around, but she hasn't gotten to see him yet. She hasn't got to speak to him. And finally, she gets to speak to him. And the first thing she says, man, let this hit you today. The first thing she says is, Aslan, you've gotten bigger. And his response is, no, you've just gotten older. Meaning, as we age in Christ, don't let Christ become small. The measure of a Christian isn't how good you are, it's how beautiful you see that Christ is. And which means the more we grow in Christ, the more that we will recognize our sin. You may even do less bad things, but you'll be more sorry about it. Right? It's as we grow in Christ, we need to become more and more and more aware of our sin. See, what the older brother needed to realize is that he's no different than the younger brother. He's just as broken. He's just as sinful. And given the same circumstances, he probably would have done the same things. It's so easy for us to come into the church and almost look down our noses at everybody else and say, I would never do that. But the truth of the Bible is you would. The truth of life is you are sinful and you are broken and you are not better than anybody else. You are lost and need to be found. And what will awaken you day in and day out is not going to be try harder, be better. It's look to the cross. That he is good and that I am not and that he saves me anyway. And tomorrow, when I fail again and I need to move forward again, I look to that beauty again. We need to never graduate from the gospel. That's warning number 1. Warning number 2 is proximity to God's things does not equal relationship with God. Meaning, showing up to church and checking the box will not make you a better Christian. Intentional growing of a relationship with Christ himself will. If you're coming in here just to check a box, just to do the right things, it is not going to result in you knowing Jesus deeper. Because your motive, what's the motive? It's I want stuff. I want what I want, and I'm just going to use God as a means to get it. So I get close to God. But really the heart posture is I just want stuff. Instead, we need to lay all that down and remember that what makes life meaningful, what makes life purposeful, is that he enters into the house with the Father. That's where life is found. So that's the 2 warnings. Let me give you 2 challenges. Challenge number 1, and this doesn't even necessarily have to do with the text so much. I think it does. Is invest in godly friendships. The reason I say that is because wouldn't it have been nice when I was driving to see Josh if I had someone in the car who knew him well and knew where he was going to be? And just say, dude, he's not in Barboursville, he's over there. Like, we need to invest in friendships that are willing to do that sort of thing. That probably one of the most important things in life is having godly friends who are there for you. And that we need to take time to actually invest in that. A lot of us have friends, but they usually just let us go wherever and drive wherever, and it's not really helpful. We need good friends who are willing to say hard things. We need good friends who are willing to cry with us, to be there for us in the heartache, who aren't just there when things are good and easy. What does that look like for you this week? I even want to make it even more practical. Right now, write down in your phone or on a notebook somebody you're going to send an encouragement to. Not just critique, but that you're going to actually build them up and drive them toward Christ. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to reach out to? And it's not like, do it. It's not just a good suggestion. Like, we need this. We need one another. And the second one kind of has to do with that too, is invest in Christian community. That so often we as Christians end up just like the older brother, isolated. And we need to actually invest deep. I want to speak directly to the members of Grace Gospel Church for a minute. Go to community group. We don't just do it for no reason. Right? We do it because we want to cultivate deep friendships that matter, that drive us in the right direction, that don't get us lost. And it takes effort, and it's weird, and it's uncomfortable, and no one really likes it. But man, it's so necessary. Go up, have the conversations you don't want to have. Share the parts of your life that you never have before. Because that's where freedom is found. And so add to that is, who are you inviting with you to community group this week? Because so often it seems like Sunday services are the front door of somebody's church, right? And so like if somebody's going to come try out a church, they show up to the Sunday service. Nothing wrong with that. But man, how beautiful would it be if the community group became the front door? Where you come in and you say, it's not just where you sit and listen to somebody talk, but a family comes around you and loves you and cares for you and invests in you. That's what's going to keep people showing back up. Let's be honest. That's what's going to drive life change. And hear me out. I'm not in here just to promote our community groups or whatever. I don't care how you do it. But the heart is that we as God's people are going out to say, come home. And that week in and week out, it's a small taste of what that feast is like. That we get to come and we get to celebrate as broken individuals who have a good, good Father. And a true older brother who has done it all so that we can have true life. What's it look like to actually invest in that this week? We'll close with that. Join me in prayer. God, thank you for our time together. Thank you for your grace.